Dad, it's an honor to talk with you, and I would love for you to get to share a bit of your story. So let's start, kind of brief summary of where you grew up and a little bit about your childhood.
Okay. Well, I grew up, born and raised in Tulsa, and had two brothers, one older by 3 years, one younger by 1 year. I went to high school in downtown Tulsa, and at one point it was the school with the largest population in the whole state. Since I grew up in a Christian household, meaning my parents were Christians, I think on a certain level I probably thought, well, I was good to go, you know.
Yeah.
Sometime in the spring of '70, I'm not sure if it was Easter, but it was Easter-ish. It was early spring. I was convicted, and I think I often wonder which are the harder nuts for the Lord to crack. You know, the people who lived a really terrible life and wind up in prison. You know, you hear a lot of those stories about jailhouse conversions, and I know a lot of people who have been there and done that. And mine was not as exciting as that, or miraculous, I guess you should say. But perhaps the tougher nut to crack is when you think you've got it all together.
Yeah.
And so I just really didn't realize that I needed anything else.
You know, so it's been, since you were 20, it's been, what is it, 55 years now. So you've had some ups and downs in your faith and in your life. And, you know, I'm just curious what comes to mind when you think about just your journey with the Lord, and maybe give a testimony to.
Well, kind of strange. We just had a presentation where I shared at church on Super Bowl, and long and short of it is that, of course, I'd had brain surgery, and I had a vision either before surgery, during surgery, I don't know when it was, and it may have been a dream. At times it felt like a out-of-body experience. And to where I was in a football game, but I was injured and I was going off the field. And as I approached the sideline, the head coach was waiting for me, whose name happened to be God. And he stops me and says, "Where are you going? I want you in the game. You've spent enough time on the sidelines already." Obviously, if God says something like that, he always speaks the truth.
Yeah.
So there was no denying that, and I knew what he was talking about. He wasn't talking about any basketball games or football or baseball or any of that. He really was talking about my life. That's one of my new favorite verses, is John 1:16, where he says, "Indeed, we've all received grace upon grace from his abundance." So that's a verse that just stays with me nonstop.
Yeah. The word that comes to my mind when I think about you, especially in these last couple of years, is just resilience. It's not a human-made resilience. It's like God has given you this resilience. Like, what would you say to those people who hear you talk about faith and your dependence upon God and are unsure that it's really for them?
Well, one thing I can say is I wouldn't be here at all except for my faith, but it's really important. This is a verse that of course, I've known this one for years, but it just seems like it's been reinforced, and that is that Jesus is the author and perfecter of our faith.
Yeah.
And I used to wonder, well, how is it exactly he perfects our faith, makes it perfect? Well, that tells me that I can't do it myself.
Yeah.
Even sometimes when maybe my walk wasn't quite what it should have been, I never turned my back on my faith.
Yeah.
Always had a Bible with me wherever I might move to, or it was just always a big part of my. In the first night I was in the hospital, I think that's when this happened, but my blood pressure had just skyrocketed, and I had this pending, surgery a couple days away, and so I was thinking, I promise God, if you save me from this, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So, I try to do that to the best I can. And when I know that I'm struggling with it, I just pray to God to keep me straight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Dad, thank you.
No,
for
thank
sharing
you,
your
Russell.
story, and look forward to, getting to share part of your story with whoever will watch.
Well, sorry for the tears.
No, I don't know if they looked sincere. I mean, if you were faking it, you did a good job.